let's get into Irina, aka Regina George. Because I was like, am I watching Mean Girls or am I watching Love is Blind? I can't tell the difference. Hey y'all, it's Nate. Welcome back to my little corner of YouTube. This video will contain Love is Blind Season 4 spoilers for episodes 1 through 5. So if you haven't watched it and you don't want to get spoilers, then you should leave right now. But before you go, make sure you like this video so I know you enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you have something to say, and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos in the future. All of that engagement really does help my small channel, and I appreciate it so much. If you have any predictions on the next few episodes that they're going to release, let me know in the comments. After watching 1 through 5, which is the only ones that are out right now, I definitely think some couples are going to split. Some couples might even end up swapping people. I don't know. That just seems like that's the way that it's going this season. Who knows? And remember that I'm going to be uploading these commentary videos every Monday until the reunion, so make sure you come back to catch the rest of them. As a loyal viewer since season 1, I have to be completely honest, it's starting to feel a little bit for the ratings. Obviously season 1 was very genuine because it was the first one. I felt like I really did love the couples in that season, and I felt like they made genuine connections. But by season 3, I was like, okay, I see why they had this couple stick it out for the ratings, but this is not the type of love that I'll Be Sure was talking about. I will say that the casting department definitely has a type. Jacqueline from season 4 reminds me of Raven from season 3. Chelsea oddly reminds me of Shayna, who I believe was in season 2. And Kwame reminds me of SK from last season as well. I also want to say this. Our girl Lauren from season 1, the other half of Lauren and Cameron, who everybody stands, and one of the very few couples, if not the only couple that's actually stayed together. She expressed last season that she felt like Love is Blind editors, whoever, Netflix, were cutting out black women. And I'll post what she tweeted. Basically, she was saying like, often we'll see black women in the trailer, but by the time we get to the actual pods, it's like, well, where are the black women? And I agree with that sentiment. I didn't find any tweets that she went into more detail on, but I will add to this that specifically for me, I don't see a lot of brown and dark-skinned black women representation. We had light-skinned representation last season with Raven. We're getting lighter skin representation this season with Jackie. Even with Tiffany, I would say is on the lighter side. You know what I mean? So I definitely agree with her on that, and I wish that we were seeing more dark-skinned black women. That being said, that might not necessarily be the show's fault. I don't know. Maybe we're not applying to be on the show. Whatever the case may be, who knows? But it is discouraging nonetheless. So this season's cast, I feel like they're okay. Like I said, I want more dark skin, brown skin, black woman representation, and to be quite honest, I want more POC women representation. Where are my Asian girlies? I didn't see any. Like, everybody is white this season except for the black woman that I mentioned, you know? So I don't know, Netflix, get on that. Billy, that was the guy who made that leopard comment. I like to wear leopard. I was like, you won't be making it, because I could already tell people were like, what does that mean? I felt like he was in his, what they used to say on Jersey Shore, gym tan caps, the caps in here or something like that. That was the vibes that he was giving me with his leopards. So I was already not feeling him, and I see he didn't make the cut, so clearly nobody else was feeling him either. Let's get into Irina, aka Regina George. Because I was like, am I watching Mean Girls or am I watching Love is Blind? I can't tell the difference. She's sneaky. I don't trust her as far as I can throw her, and I can't throw her very far. Sitting there and telling Micah that she got the ick when she first saw Zach was uncalled for. Like, she really didn't need to say that. Not to mention, she was flirting with her best friend's man. The moment that she saw Paul, she was like, oh, I should have chosen Paul. Which, isn't Micah supposed to be your bestie in the pods? Like, even if you felt that way, you probably shouldn't have said anything, because now you're really looking like a snake, which I think she is anyway. I don't know. And like, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I felt that she was giving off those vibes even before Mexico. Because if you remember in the pods when Bliss was crying over the fact that, you know, Zach didn't choose her, which we know what happened with that, but she was kind of like smirking and like laughing at Bliss's tears. Like, who? Like, she's crying and you're laughing. That's a little sinister. And on top of it all, she tried to steal Bliss's birthday candles. Like, girl, what? You didn't even remember his birth. Anyway, I know Amber didn't make it to Mexico, but I did want to kind of talk about her for a little bit too. I love that she was really open about the fact that she had already been married twice. To be quite honest, I think that might be the reasons why one of the reasons why she didn't get as far, because I feel like a lot of the guys who come on this show are I've been looking for love all my life and I haven't found it. And they might look at that and go, oh, you've already tried twice, then let somebody else get a chance. That's just my opinion. So I'm glad that she was so open about that. Things happening. So if she felt like she wanted to, like she deserved better or whatever the case may be, then good for her. Love that for her. I also felt so bad for her when Paul was breaking up with her, because she was just like, yeah, you're my person. Like, you're amazing. And he's just like, bro was literally too stunned to speak. Okay, let's talk about my girl Tiffany. First off, I love that Tiffany is expressing the fact that she is 36. And that might sound like a crazy thing to say, but here's the reason. After season 3 came out, there were a few women who were saying that the producers or whoever either made them lie about their age or change their age on the show. Like when they pop up their name and their age, change their name to make them younger because that's more appealing, which I think is insane. So I think the very reason that they have somebody on the show this season who is 36 is very strategic on their part after that news came out. I'll see if I can find that article and then I'll put it in the description box. But I thought that was crazy that somebody said that they made them do that. So love that for Tiffany, that she's saying like, look, I am one of the older people here. You know, when you even look at in comparison to Irina, who is 25, that's a 10-year difference. So they definitely opened things up this season. So I'm happy for that. Then we have my boy Kwame. I just want to say about him when he was in the pause, I felt so bad, and I felt for him when he said, oh, I was thinking about going by Alex in the pod, so you know it's easier so that I don't get judged for it. And I felt that for him because, you know, my first name is Unique, so I get it. I get that feeling of like, people are gonna be able to pronounce it, is it gonna be like a bird, you know, all those things. So shout out to him for going with Kwame because we like that better anyway. Chelsea, love that she has that blanket, you know, shout out to her. I'm not gonna knock anybody's comfort item. So first off, I love that she brought it on the show, and I love that she told Kwame about it, and he was like, you can sleep with it as long as you want to. I hope he really meant that. I hope he wasn't just saying it. Marshall. First off, whenever I hear the name Marshall, I immediately think of Eminem because Marshall Mathers. But Marshall is smooth. He kind of reminds me of Cleo Anthony. I was like, okay, he a little Sade, he a little smooth operator. And then he started reading a poem, and I was like, my vibes were right. Like, that is exactly who he is. And then there's Josh. Now, you might not remember Josh because he didn't really get a lot of screen time. Matter of fact, I don't even think we ever saw him in the pods one time. But he had something going on with Jackie, and on that preview of the next few episodes, they hinted that they didn't hint, they showed that he was going to be making a comeback. So he didn't get a lot of screen time in the pods, but there's some tea there because I feel like he's about to become a very significant person in these next few episodes. So y'all mark my words on that. Okay, so now let's talk about the couples as couples. So the couples are a little bit of mix. It's the couples that actually got engaged, and then some of them are couples who I'm deeming as couples because of the way that they've been acting. First up, we have Zach and Irina. Where to start with them? Like I said, I could tell from the very moment that Irina walked out and she saw him, she already knew she didn't like that man. She was calling him a cartoon character like 5 minutes into the conversation. That's not a good sign. And he was like, well, I think that might be a good thing. No. If somebody walked up to you and was like, you look like Doug or you look like Homer Simpson, like that's not a compliment, babe. To be honest, I spent most of the time when they were in Mexico feeling bad for Zach. But when he was like, look girl, I'm not about to chase you, I was like, stand up.
Y'all be weak in the knees. Stand up. Stand up.
Like finally he's getting it. You're not about to chase her, and she shouldn't want you to because she doesn't like you. It was very clear. She was literally shrieking like she had been hit by a car when he was trying to kiss her. That's outrageous. I need us to BFFR. So in the end, they decided to split, which I think was better for everybody, and maybe even Bliss. More on that later. Then we have Brett and Tiffany. So I don't really have too much to say about them, honestly, because they didn't really come with any drama. I love them together. I'm so happy that Sis was able to redeem herself after falling asleep on him, because quite honestly, I was like, she fell asleep on him. And you know what vibes it was giving me? Remember last season when Raven was doing jumping jacks, when my boy was literally pouring out his heart and saying like, I have a bad relationship with my family, and she was like, yeah, I'm working out. Like, it was giving those vibes, and I thought that was so rude of Raven, and I thought it was rude of Tiffany to fall asleep. But you know, we hear that being in the pods is tiring. You're dating one after another after another after another. You're barely sleeping. You're shooting content. You're shooting for a TV show, so it's a lot going on. So granted, she probably was just tired. I'm happy she was able to redeem herself, because after all was said and done with these first 5 episodes, they are actually one of my favorite couples. And honestly, I'm rooting for them. Okay, Chelsea and Kwame. I'm just gonna keep it 100 and say that when I first saw them together, I was a little bit annoyed because I was like, here is another blonde getting with a black man, and you know, that whole thing. That being said, I have no problem with people dating outside their race. I find many different white men attractive, okay? And I've actually only ever dated white men, but it still hits when you feel like, you know, that's a deeper conversation. We have to go into a whole other commentary video on that. But I still stand black love, so I was like, ugh, another blonde with a black man, okay. But to be honest, I think Chelsea is genuine, and they ended up being another one of my favorite couples by the end of episode 5. I hope that Kwame does right by her and tells Miss Micah to stay in her lane because she pushing it and he letting her push it. Chelsea looked like she a ride too, like she probably beat Micah up, so I don't know. And another thing that really sold it for me with Chelsea was when he was proposing and she said his full African name. Like, one, she took the time to ask about it or listened when he told her. 2, she got the correct pronunciation of it. And 3, she actually remembered it and said it. So you got to give her credit where credit is due on that, because some people don't care. They'd be like, Kwame, that's it? Okay, bet. Or Alex, good. So she said his full government, his full African, and yeah, she definitely got some points for me on that one. Okay, so for Jackie and Marshall, again, not too much on them. I will say that when Jackie was crying in the bathroom and like having her moment, we don't really know what that's about. We didn't get backstory on her family situation. We might not get it. That's not the point. The way that Marshall reacted to it was like really telling of him. He could have been like, ooh, I just met this girl, like she crying all over the place, but he really embraced her and sat there and took the time to, you know, let her cry it out, and that was really telling of him. So I think he's a good guy so far. Micah and Paul. So when Paul was in the pods and he was talking about how talking and connecting with her makes him feel like he's standing in the sun, I was like, clearly my boy likes Scandal, because that is a direct Olivia Pope reference.
You want to stand in the sun with me?
I want us to stand in the sun together.
Aside from that, I don't really know anything about them being together. I feel like I never actually saw them together in Mexico. I saw a lot of Micah talking to other people, and I never really saw Paul. I think the only time I saw Paul is when he was talking to Zach about the fact that Irina doesn't like him that much. Like, that's the only time I ever saw Paul, but never saw them together. This is honestly probably the most significant couple in romance of season 4 Love is Blind. Micah and Irina, aka frickin' frack. So that little stunt that they pulled when Chelsea was like, Kwame, can you give me some chips and guac? And they were like, Kwame, can you get us some drinks? Chelsea was being nice, because she should have been like, why are you asking my man for drinks? Like, my man. I don't know. Like I said, I think Chelsea might be about that life in another life, so they might want to watch it. I feel like it was not only rude, but it was also childish, because she was asking her man to get something. Y'all doing that to be petty, and it's not a good look. On top of the fact that after he was like, no, they started being like, oh, he's just salty, he's salty. And they got out the pool and was like, let's talk. And then she was all over Kwame, like, girl, you said no to him. So why are you then trying to be all over him after you see him? Like, you made your decision. And like I've already said about Irina, I felt like they were constantly being petty even in the past. When Jackie was crying about the fact that she felt bad for having to turn somebody else down, they were laughing, oh, my friend's crying, like, girl, I don't know. I feel like they were planted to be the show's drama, and they're doing just that, but it's not making them look good. And when the show's over, that's all people are going to remember of them, and we know how that goes. And I really didn't like how they were acting when Bliss was crying, and I really didn't like that they were trying to piggyback off of Bliss's cupcakes. Like, what are you doing? You didn't even remember his birthday. Okay, I digress. So Kwame and Micah, who are in a situationship right now, first off, the way that he hit her with the HR voice when she was like, bye, he was like, well, I wish you all the best, thank you for stopping by. Like, he really hit her with like the office hours HR voice, which I thought was hilarious. But outside of the pause, when we got to Mexico, why were they holding hands when she was talking to him and she was trying to apologize for making that really dumb joke about the failed proposal or whatever she said? Why were they, like, they were full on, like, they were like caressing each other's hands. Was that necessary? Because your fiance Chelsea is sitting right over there. Now, like I said, I know where Paul was. Paul didn't even see that whole interaction happening. But they were holding hands, and the cameraman is so petty because they kept zooming in on the fact that they were holding hands. Like, they were like, y'all see this, right? Like, y'all see this. And then we have Zach and Bliss. So I don't know where I stand on them as a couple. To be completely honest, she should have told him to kick boulders when he was like, can you meet me? I think she is too beautiful and too thoughtful for the BS, and I don't think she should give him another chance, but if she decides to, I'll be rooting for her. I can't say I'm rooting for him. At the beginning of this all, she said, if you were to choose Irina, that would show your character. And I am happy that she got vindicated in that, because when he was in Mexico, he was saying there are sometimes she can do things that are just really mean and kind of like vindictive, and yeah. That's what Bliss was trying to tell you. Like, she baked you cupcakes on your birthday that the fiance you chose didn't even remember. And you still went with the other woman. I love the conversation on black men and vulnerability that Kwame, Marshall, and Brett had. I think it is extremely important to have those conversations because we know, us members of the black community know that those are not conversations that have been traditionally had in our community, and they are just now, I won't even say that they're being normalized, they're just now becoming okay to even mentioning. So I love that Netflix and, you know, whoever works on the show decided to keep that part in, because I think it was important for that to be televised. Something that I've noticed after 4 seasons of this show is that it never works out when you go with the other woman. Meaning you got turned down by one woman and then you go back and say, well, let me try with another one. That's a situation that Chelsea and Kwame are in, and we know that that doesn't work because that wasn't his first choice, and we've seen it even in last season. I forget the couple's name, but that happened last season, and when they met the other person face to face, they were like, oh, because I think that 9 times out of 10 you should go with your first choice, and if that first choice turned you down, then you just got turned down. But making somebody like your second pick is kind of gives me the ick, to be honest. But like I said, I like Chelsea and Kwame together. I hope that he can get it together and do right by her. Overall, out of all the couples from these first 5 episodes, Tiff and Brett are my favorite, and I really want to see them go all the way. I like them together. They seem to vibe really well, and it seems to be genuine, which is most important. Some of the couples seem to be vibing, but it seems to be vibing for TV, not vibing for real. So I love that they feel and seem genuine together. And that is it for this video. Let me know all of your thoughts about these first 5 episodes in the comments. And I will catch you here next Monday, same place, same time, to discuss the next batch of episodes. Subscribe. We're on season 4, no? Oh, there we are. Including Shayna, or not Shayna.
You feel your energy from how you feel.